Thompson Productions.
No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jet is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump, and I am today's host, Jose Galison. It is a beautiful April 23rd. What it do, people? I see some people in the chat. I see Doctori, PJR, your mom, some early people rolling in here. What is up? It's been a minute. It's been a minute since we've done one of these morning dumps. It is what was it? I think like last Thursday or something. Yeah, so it's been a minute. It's Wednesday now. I didn't get a chance to do it. I flew in on Friday or Monday. I flew back into kind of the Tampa area on Monday night. Got delayed a little bit. I thought I was going to be able to get a morning dump out for you guys yesterday, but then I didn't get home till like after midnight. So here I am. So we already did last night. Me and Austin kind of catching up a little bit, more just kind of reminiscing on the weekend, shooting the bull with you guys. Wasn't a super serious, deep episode, but it was nice to kind of touch in with you guys. So you see you guys in here. See JC, Bug Fights, Gerald R. Good morning, everybody. All right, while we wait for more of y'all to roll in, I do want to take a moment to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Nadeau Shave Co. You're tired of that razor burn, that irritation, those ingrown hairs that come from those multi-blade cartridges? This is the way to go. Go Nadeau. The single blade safety razor, this is the way to do it. I mean, this gives you a much better shave, gives you a much smoother shave. It's much better for your face. Like, who would have thought dragging less razors, sharp razors across your skin is probably better for you? And it is. You actually get just as good of a shave, if not even a smoother shave. I think it's smoother, and it's much better for you. It's a lot cheaper. It's $75 for the first year, and that comes with a safety razor seen here and 100 razors. After that, you're just getting the razors. So, I mean, also you're saving 10% off if you use my promo code, which is Jose. Use that at checkout. And then, like, kind of to add to all of it, as if it wasn't a no-brainer to begin with, this is Nadeau. This is a company that was born out of refusing the COVID mandate. So this company is a company that generally is probably going to align with your values. So, I mean, if you're one of those people who likes to vote with your dollar, this is the way to do it. And I highly recommend it. I mean, especially for someone who's shaving regularly. I know you guys see me with a beard, but I still edge up. And even then, I use Nadeau. So Nadeau is the way to go. Use Jose at checkout at NWJ.com. Let them know I sent you. All right, let's get into, let's check in with you guys. See who all's rolled in. I see Tom in here. I see coming off last night's Already Dead. Wow, Austin went full retard with the water thing. Yeah, I don't know what the water thing was all about. I was very confused. I don't know. I don't know if he was just in a weird spot. I don't know. Or maybe it was just talking past each other. I think it was a talking past each other thing, because I was only making the property rights point, because it's like I get what he meant, because it's and I don't know. I don't know to what extent Austin's super into like libertarian theory, and so I was trying not to go into it. I was trying to just kind of like be like, yeah, haha, and then just kind of, but I don't know. He seemed to want to talk about it. I think maybe it was just a misunderstanding. So, but obviously I would, just to clear it up for you guys in case you're confused. Essentially, the point I was making is he was talking about that weird, kooky, new fucking evil overlord we have. That was, I don't even know his name. He's the new Klaus Schwab. He's the fucking He's he's a new evil mastermind. And one statement people throw around a lot about him is he's Nestle guy, which I believe Nestle has their own water. I think Nestle is one of the largest purified water ones. I can't remember which one they make, but I swear it's one of the largest. Anyways, point being, they use a lot of water. But the thing thrown around a lot about this guy is he has the quote that says, "Water is not a right," or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I actually agree with that. Is my point. But it is a weird thing for someone to say, especially given the place that person fills as a kind of a top level elite. What do you mean by that? I get the concept is rights. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people get mixed up with what are rights. In a certain sense, they're all kind of made up, but at the end of the day, I guess it's really just what conception of rights makes the most sense. And I'm not going to spend an hour here arguing it because we'd be here for a while. But my opinion on the matter is that the only rights that make any sort of sense whatsoever, or really consistent, or aren't retarded, really are property rights. So that's what it comes down to. So now the thing is, people say human rights, and that's just a nonsensical term. That's whatever you want it to be. That's where people say, oh, you have a right to healthcare, you have a right to this, you have a right to that. And you're like, what? No, that's positive rights. It's the concept of you're entitled to things by your existence. And it's no, you're not. So I believe in the concept of negative rights, which generally are just property rights, the idea that you are able to own things, and when you own something, you are the one who has the exclusive right to it. Was it from Dune? I forget the exact line, but it's that who has the power to destroy owns or has the exclusive right. I forget exactly. But the point being that you can destroy a thing, you own it. So that's what ownership is. That's what rights are. So you own yourself, and you're able to own things outside of that, and it all kind of branches out from there. So that's the whole point. Is that so you do not have a right to water. Now, if you own a piece of property and you have a body of water on that piece of property, it's yours. You own it. Now, if you go buy water from somebody from the store, you now own it. But it's also perfectly fine to have someone who owns things and sells water. Because, I mean, theoretically, if you were to say that water is a right, then that means that it would be not right to sell it, theoretically. I mean, it's a little bit confusing when you get into positive rights, but point being is but now when you do get into a weird territory when you're talking about these weird top level elites, what do you mean by that? You don't have a right to water. What is the implication? What are you getting at? Are you implying you're trying to buy up all of the water? Because now we're in a different scenario. Because it's there is a, mutualists, I think, that kind of have a conception of, when it comes to property rights, that you can only own certain things. And so, it's the idea of, I don't know, how do I put this? People, lenders or why can't I think of the word of someone who owns a place and lends it out to people? What is the term for that? I haven't had one in a while, so I can't even remember what the fuck they're called. Your landlord. So the idea being that they have an issue. It's kind of weird. I don't even understand the exact line of mutualists, but the concept is that they kind of they're okay with property rights, but it's kind of they get squirrely when it comes to something that you aren't able to really be there for. So the idea of being let's say I own a property in Mumbai or something. The idea being that they wouldn't accept that as valid. Which I don't know. I kind of understand somewhat. The idea being that I don't know. That's because I mean when it comes down to John Locke and the conception of rights, usually it's you mix your labor with something. Whether it's either there's homesteading, so you mix your labor with a unadulterated unowned property, and therefore it becomes yours, or you exchange for it. So you give somebody currency or something, and they give you some in return. But anyways, point being is I think the mutualists may have kind of a point in the idea of if it's something that you aren't really able to actually, I mean, just because you mixed your labor in it once, does it mean it's yours forever? I don't know. It gets a little bit in the weeds. So the idea of if you have a property somewhere else, this would kind of be the concept. The idea I'm getting here is the similar to the concept of if some rich man bought up all of the drinking water. It'd be would that be right? I don't know. That is an interesting libertarian theory question to be had. But it is so that was kind of what I was driving. It's that seems to be almost as if when you have someone like a him saying that, you're what the fuck? And I am I don't know. I'm on the edge with if I find that as valid. if some businessman buys all the water, you're what the fuck? I don't think that seems a bit much. I don't know. That doesn't seem legit to me. Although, what do I know? But that's the only point I was making. It was a silly little aside. It wasn't really made to be. I was saying it is. I agree 100% when people say, "Oh, this guy said that." I go, "Yeah, that's weird. That is weird. That's a weird thing for someone in his position to say." Now, technically, I agree, but it's also like I don't say that. You're like, I mean, and it's like it's the same idea as if I go to some like people don't people don't have a right to live. And you're like, okay, technically I agree with that, but it's a weird thing to say. It's because it's like that isn't odd to like, you don't have like a right to the conception of existing. Like you don't have a right to continue to exist forever in perpetual, like in perpetuity is the word I'm looking for. So, but obviously that's one of those things that sounds good. And you're like, because people hear that and they think that you're like, oh, you should go kill people. Like, no, that's not what you're saying. You're just saying you're not entitled to live forever. Like, but anyways, it was an autism. Someone said it was just autism. That's what happened. But I did want to take a second to explain kind of what I was getting at. So you guys know. So see, Tom says he's right, but it's gross. So I might own my water and you can have some if you're going to die, bro. Exactly. And then I did bring up that point because I think he brought that up. And I was like, I'm an egoist at heart. So I don't even necessarily in a certain sense actually like, I don't like an objective... I don't really like believe in rights in like an objective way, I guess would be the way to put it. But it is like I do find that to be the most conducive way to live for a beneficial society, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like the best bedrock of beliefs or conception of rights, essentially, in order to operate by. Kind of like a Hoppe argument, the idea of kind of like this is the only way we can kind of interact together. What was it? God, I had Consil on argumentation ethics. It's kind of like argumentation ethics, essentially. It's kind of how I come to my conception of rights. Would probably be the best way to explain it. So, because in an ultimate sense, I don't really believe any of it's technically objective, but I can make an argument for what is the most conducive towards human flourishing, and I would say that would be property rights and a proper understanding of them. So, but yeah, at the same time, it is like, and my point with being an egoist, I am like, and at the end of the day, like. I'm someone who believes your rights should serve you. You shouldn't, or your belief should. What is it? I forget the saying. The egoist saying. It's like your rights should serve you, not your rights, or I forget what word it is. But anyways, point being is it's like if I am, the idea being if you have conflicting values, like say your family's starving and you need food, like do you rob the store? You robbing the store does not necessarily then make it so it's. Because, you're in a specific situation and one can make the argument that like, hey, you really need it. That doesn't make robbing from stores okay. You still did a wrong thing. It's just that you had conflicting values and it would have been more wrong to let your family starve to death than it would be to rob. So, but it still doesn't mean you had a right to that money. You had no right to it, but you took it anyways because you were in dire straits. So, anyways, yeah, so it was just autism. It was autism, so... Said water is unique is one of those things that you are morally right for killing someone who denies it. No, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, maybe situationally. No, I don't think so. All right, let's keep going. I'm scrolling through the chat, seeing what you guys. I didn't realize Austin was a water commie. I think it was just a misunderstanding. So, because he is pretty much like in line with me. So I think it was just misunderstanding. Maybe we were just in weird headspace. We were just coming off of Vegas and having a weird, odd, long weekend. So we were just. Man, I'm still kind of like out of it and don't feel like I'm back in any sort of rhythm. So I'm trying to get back in a rhythm. So here with you guys. So someone says you deny water, you're killing them. I'm sorry, Doctori, but that's kind of retarded. I'm sorry. Like that's the same, by that same logic, by denying food, you're killing them. I mean, it's just because it's a matter of degrees. Like it doesn't mean you're necessarily killing them. It depends on the situation. I would say you're a dick. I agree with that. Like, but ultimately, no. All right, let's get into some actual content. We've been going all around. Yeah, how does this discussion help Israel? Exactly. That's what we need to get to. We need to get to how is this going to help Israel? And boy, oh boy, do we not have plenty to cover there. Let's get into some Israel stuff. Here we go. First piece I have for you guys today. This is from Kyle Anzalone. Israel continues to issue evacuation orders in Gaza, but no new safe zones. So, I just wanted to read this real quick because I just thought this kind of puts in perspective what's going on there. Because I think people just some Jose still trying to sell Austin's last water. Okay. All right. Anyways, back to this story. But yeah, I just thought it was worthwhile mentioning kind of a conception of how things are going over there. Because I know when this first started, there was a period of time where there was like these safe zones that supposedly these people were, told to go to. So as they're bombing the fuck out of their living area, they then go, oh, go here, you'll be safe. And then lo and behold, they don't actually end up being safe. Those safe zones got bombed quite frequently during, the past few years. But that's no longer even a thing. At least they had something close to a safe zone or something. Now we don't even have that. So just to understand, so now the idea is that we just bombed to shit, and that's that. Let's read it. So maybe we'll glean a little bit more out of this real quick. Over the past month, the IDF has forced many Gazans to flee their homes or shelters. However, Tel Aviv is not creating new humanitarian zones for the displaced Palestinians to shelter. According to Haaretz, after Israel broke the ceasefire with Hamas on March 18th and resumed major military operations in Gaza, it has not designated any new safe zones in the Strip. Other areas previously classified as humanitarian zones have been bombed by the IDF nearly 24 times over the past month. So the areas that were designated before, they were bombing. So even if, while they haven't announced specific safe zones, there are probably some people who went to those areas, I would just assume, hoping that maybe they're reserving a similar such status. But no, that's not the case. It almost seems as if this was like a Pavlovian thing to drive them into a certain area that gives them makes them kind of fish in a barrel. Haaretz noted that Israel issued a map of Gaza that eliminated the humanitarian zones on January 15th before the ceasefire and hostage agreement with Hamas came into effect. After the ceasefire took hold, many Gazans sheltering tents at designated safe zones left to go back to their homes. After Israel resumed operations in the Strip, many returned to former humanitarian zones, even though Tel Aviv had not redesignated the areas. That's pretty much the crux of what I wanted to get at here. But I just thought it was worthwhile for those to get a clear idea, because I'll be honest, I didn't know the specifics of like, do these people, are they currently have safe zones, what? But no, it just looks like they're just straight up fuck. Did I not have this thing up the entire time? God damn it. I hate that this fucking... so anyways. Oh, Star Crimes. Hey, what's up? I see you said this is jaunt stream through Patreon, or am I retarded, Nick? Well, I guess to be fair, I didn't really say anything, but these daily streams, for the Patreon wise, it doesn't stream there, no. So just assume Monday through Friday, there's likely one of these. Same thing goes for Already Dead. Now the regular, like the paywalled stuff, like for example, I think on Thursday or tomorrow I have Jacob coming back on the show, I believe, and we will be we'll be streaming then. So we'll have a link to a unlisted YouTube video there that you can watch it. But so far as like the live stuff, no, this doesn't stream to Patreon. So, but you do get it after the fact, assuming you miss it. You'll get an ad-free you can get the ad-free RSS feed because I upload it afterwards, so you can listen to it without having to deal with ads. So, you get a little bit of a perk, but yeah, it's kind of, I don't really know what, it'd be a giant pain in the ass to have to, upload this to Patreon for this when it's a daily show. That'd be a lot, but, all right, let's get into the next, like I said, we have a bunch of Israel stuff today. It seems like their crimes are becoming, more and more evident. I thought this was interesting. The Israeli army faked a Gaza tunnel photo to justify military presence. Here's a photo. This is former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. You see what looks like a Hummer backed into, this gigantic hole here. It says right here, Yoav Gallant says a photo used to claim the discovery of a massive tunnel in Gaza was staged to delay a prisoner deal and exaggerate military threats. There's not really much I need to say more. It's literally the former defense minister himself saying this. So, I don't know, maybe there's some political reasons of why going on over there that I don't know of that he would lie, but it seems this is seems like I don't see why he would lie about this. So, and this completely falls in line with the actions of Israel during all of this, that they would make a mountain out of a molehill. And obviously this isn't to say there aren't tunnels and stuff. I'm sure there probably are, but obviously, leave it to Israel to exaggerate it at every fucking opportunity they get. So, all right, let's check in with you guys, see what you guys have to say. Canceled NDS to sign up for you. I won't support Top buying Jordans. I didn't even know he was a Jordans guy. Okay, well that's fair. Yeah, you should probably give me money instead of Top. Yeah, why would you give any Puerto Ricans money? That's wild. Scrolling through. All right, let's move on to the next thing. All right, on the First Amendment front, here we have more. We just saying fuck it now, I guess, these days. Although, to be fair, this is something I guess they already kind of had sort of infringed upon when it came to the First Amendment. When it comes to the BDS or the boycott, divest, and sanction, I think, movement. So this is already in pretty much, I don't know how many states it is. It's a different figure every time, but it's always larger, it seems. But it's like what, something retarded, like well over half the states or some shit have BDS laws, essentially making it illegal in some form or fashion to boycott a foreign government. Which I don't know why you, as a free American, shouldn't be allowed to withhold your business in an organized fashion with other human beings for any reason whatsoever. I mean, you could be the most minute of things there is. The idea that anyone's entitled to your money or that you aren't allowed to organize not giving people your money, it's a little bit ridiculous. But here we are. Trump administration enacts vast censorship of American scientists over Israel. So research institutes, and by the way, this is by Lee Fang over, I guess, at Lee Fang's thing, which I saw him on, what did I see him on? I can't think of his name. Glenn Greenwald's show I'll go. Pretty seemed like a good guy. A smart guy. Seemed to be pretty hip with it. Seemed to be, I think he's kind of like he strikes me as kind of like a, center left maybe. But obviously I'm kind of colored by the fact of the show he went on. But he was pretty level-headed. That was the only point. So for those who care about that. Research institutes and universities may engage in boycotts or divestment to pressure any country or government entity in the world. Recent institutional boycotts include measures to protest corporations that do business in North Carolina and China. That right no longer exists when it comes to protests of Israel. Research and university employees who engage in certain nonviolent protests or political expression over human rights conditions in Israel may risk civil and criminal penalties, according to a new policy unveiled by the National Institutes of Health yesterday. The agency, the largest public funder of biomedical research in the world, touches virtually every corner of the scientific community. And you know what just dawned on me? We are seeing, as I literally said on Jake Shields' show, I said we're seeing COVID for Jews, and kind of making the joke that the idea of we're seeing, we're referring to like online censorship at that point. But, you guys remember during peak COVID, there was, and right around the election at that time, there was all sorts of weird online censorship stuff. And I think we're starting to see a return of that. And so I'm like, it's kind of the same thing, but for the right. So instead of COVID, now it's Jews. This reminds me of the same exact phenomenon, but in the realm of DEI. Like, does this not? This sounds like that the idea here is that essentially they're withholding funds from scientific research, medical research, for those who boycott Israel. So this is basically DEI. That's the same concept of DEI. It was the idea of like lending out money to certain institutions, and those who were anti-woke, anti-environmentalism, anti-whatever, were likely not to receive money. So it seems to be we're dealing with a similar such phenomenon here, where I wouldn't be surprised if it starts leaking into other things. I will say this one did kind of sneak by me, the idea of like using it for funding purposes, because I did call out, like I think it was like a week or so ago, I said keep an eye out. It's going to be like YouTube's going to go back to the old ways of censorship, but it's going to be far more Jew focused. And I think another one to keep an eye out is going to be, security clearances. That'll be the move, which we've kind of seen that. I kind of wish I'd meant to bring up like a Hegseth story or something in that realm, because it seems to be we're kind of seeing something along those lines, just not quite to institutionalize the degree of like literally like, hey, if you do this, we pull your security clearance. But they're already trying to clear up the higher ranks that have that are not sufficiently pro-Israel, because let's be real, none of these people that we're referring to are really all that anti-Israel. They're just not sufficiently pro-Israel. But anyway, so just I find it interesting. This is what we're dealing with. We're essentially seeing DEI, but for Israel. There's got to be a good meme there, or T-shirt. DEI. Obviously, I would be Israel. I think something else to do with the D and the E. But yeah, just dawned on me just now. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, me and Eugene. Somebody asked me what was up with Tanya threatening to sue Raven. I stayed out of that. I don't fucking know. I caught the main beats. I'll be honest. So if anyone wants to if anyone wants to know where I was at, I found out about it like way after the fact. Keep in mind, I was traveling like a bunch this weekend. I was in Vegas, LA. Didn't get home until like late as shit Monday night. And so it's like, I think this was like mostly going on Tuesday, but even then I was still like kind of settling in. I was like kind of doing laundry, this, that, all the different things. So I did see, I did kind of like I did see the little bits of it, but then I did see the like the threaten to sue, which I don't know, it might be a talking past thing. I will say, for if anyone wants to be like, oh, you should have, come to anyone's defense on any side, I just stayed out of it. And then I did in the behind the scenes kind of like, hey, if you're asking my opinion, I think you should either just ignore or chill or whatever. But like, it wasn't. I'll be honest, I didn't make a stink about it. I mean, she did imply litigations. I don't fucking know. I mean, I can kind of get where he came from. Maybe he went a little too hard. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I didn't really follow it enough. I didn't really have any need to keep an eye on that whole thread of things. But yeah, so I mean, I'm vaguely aware of it. I just didn't check the ins and outs of all. But I saw there was some sort of threatened to suit or something. I don't know. So hopefully that all, hopefully it's just misunderstanding. I don't think anything was meant by it. I know this started over a silly joke because it's funny. I actually made a post on my way back. Like I think it was like Monday. It's just kind of like, man, it's kind of wild that like I'm gone for a weekend. And it's like, man, a lot did really happen over the weekend. I feel like me and him missed a bunch, but I was like, this isn't even, I put like, it's, I come back, leave for a weekend, come back, the Pope's dead. And then there's some weird blackface trend going on, which I guess I'm assuming there's some sort of AI or something or other, because it seems to always be the case whenever there's a new trend like this, there's like a new AI filter or something. And I'm guessing that's what it is. There's some sort of race swapping AI filter. Which, whatever, okay, Raven just like all day for whatever reason or other was swapping out. It started out with friends, then went to like celebrities or minor celebrities we know, and then larger, and then just kind of just where he's like doing everybody. So he's just, I don't know, just having fun with what every person would look like if you race swapped them. And the one that I had happened to be the photo where I'm at Tim Pool and I'm wearing the Yiki shirt. And she didn't seem to like that. So I don't know. I think maybe it was just a misunderstanding. I'm not sure. I don't think, because obviously the joke was, I don't know. There really wasn't even, it was silly. Like, that's what Jose looks like black. I mean, nothing about that had anything to do with Terrence. I just happened to be wearing that shirt. So I don't fucking know. I mean, so I think it might just be a misunderstanding. It's different sensibilities. I don't know. But, and then, then making some sort of litigation implication of some sort to Raven. Obviously, like, I don't control Raven. I don't even do a show with Raven, so he's just a friend. So it's like, I don't have any control over Raven. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, you give Raven some shit, and don't be surprised when he starts going nuts. So I don't know. I stayed out of it though, so I don't know. I hope they're all cool now. Hope everyone's buddies. So, all right, let's scroll through the chat. Yes, he's accurate. Yeah, I don't. It's whatever. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like seeing this shit when people are arguing. It is what it is, though. But I stay out of it. All right, more on the First Amendment side of things, where you're not allowed to say anything about the Jays. Here we are with old Mahmoud Khalil. Apparently, he missed his son's birth. So, I mean, there's not really anything else. I mean, there's no need to really go through this article, but it's just kind of like, hey, just shitty. I mean, you get it. Oh, okay, cool. He's not an American citizen, so fuck him, I guess, right? I guess it seems to be the mentality everyone seems to, or at least the boomer con types want to push. Like, oh, well, hey, you're not a full-blooded American citizen, that you can't do a goddamn thing, and if we just, at a whim, we decide to kick you out of the country, then so be it. You better fucking watch your mouth about Israel, boy. That's what it feels like. I mean, this is just shitty. I mean, obviously, I know me and Austin have talked about maybe the possibilities of this guy being a little bit of a glowy or having glowy connections, or there being more to the story possibly, but even just at a face value, it's just, none of that. This is just shitty. Just I don't know. I can't, this is kind of, as a father, this is probably one of the worst things you could do. I mean, obviously there are worse things you could do to a father, but like, it's up there. Like the idea of like not being there for the birth of your child, which I'm pretty sure this is first. Yeah, pretty fucking awful thing to do to another human being. I really can't imagine much more. And for what was his crime? For not being cool with the murder of innocents, I guess. There's nothing. I've seen nothing. I've never seen a single thing produced that shows this guy had any sort of, positive feelings towards Hamas or hatred towards Jews. it seems to be pretty much just anti-Israel. And if his case isn't enough, there are plenty of others that exactly fit that bill. Let's see. Actually, I think there's one that might even have been mentioned in this. See if I can remember. There was another one, the girl who got arrested, which that one was even worse, which I guess that's just us kind of being sexist. It was worse in the idea that it's just like they literally just rolled up on her and arrested her. And like, I don't know, maybe it's my, as I said, being sexist. I just feel bad for seeing a young woman being like accosted on the street. And like, it's like, I don't know, it's just awful. Like, I mean, obviously, like I said, it's sexist because it's like no one cares if it's a dude. But I mean, whatever, it drives home the point. It's just, I mean, hell, even if it was a dude, the idea that you're just going to roll up and fucking while they're, and arrest these people, arrest them. Like, people who have this, like, removed concept of what's happening here. Like, these people think, oh, we'll just deport them. I don't know. What do you think that means? A message in the mail, and then at a, casual, calm time, they just board a plane and head back home? Or what? Like, no, these people are getting fucking arrested for disagreeing with the foreign policy of Israel. I mean, it's just fucking freedom, right? Woohoo! Yeah, it's just, I don't know. And then we have this fucking ghoul, Smotrich, but Bezalel, I think, literally a fucking demonic name. Israeli Mr. Smotrich announced that the Israeli hostages should be sacrificed and war should continue. Which we kind of knew this from the jump, that they don't give a fuck about the hostages. When this started up the hostilities again, the hostages were the hostages and the hostages' families were the first ones who was upset about this. So, yeah. I mean, it's just frustrating. And then here we have old Donnie. What does he have to say? It says, I've spoken. This is from the White House account, which this was actually, I almost brought it up as a tweet, or not as a tweet, but as an article, because it was one of the anti-war articles. Big shout out to Anti-War. Go check those guys out. You should be checking out antiwar.com on the reg. But there was a piece in there on that. But then it's like, I don't even really need to. It's literally the White House, not even hiding from it, that this is a statement Trump said. I've just spoken to Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, relative to numerous subjects, including trade, Iran, etc. The call went very well. We are on the same side of every issue. This is President Donald J. Trump. Which, I mean, all right. I mean, on the side of every issue. Now, I will say I am doubtful of that, but either way, the messaging seems to be, hey, we're on the same page here. So, I mean, I don't know. There's many different ways I can take this. Obviously, we have recent news with all the Iran stuff, the leaks, the Hegseth, the this, the that. They're like, I don't really know. I really don't know what to make of this. I mean, it seems like maybe they're not as close as we thought, and I think maybe we're kind of still possibly abiding by the same standard that we kind of have for the past, 20 some odd years. The idea of that Israel is, let's go to Iran, let's get Iran, and we're just kind of like, okay. And then, like, when it actually really comes down to it, we're like, no, we're not doing that. No, because, I mean, this has been damn near my whole life. We're like, oh, shit, we're going to go to war with Iran. Oh, shit, we're going to go to war with Iran. And then, like, something, some back and forth, something, it gets de-escalated, something. Essentially, you see that the will is clearly not there on our side. It seems to be Israel, the will is there. They want us to do it. But it does seem like whenever it comes down to it, you might get some sort of minor back and forth, trading hostilities, kind of, but in like a Brinksman gentleman type way of like, oh, I'll do yours and you do mine and we'll call it a day. But point like that being like obviously clearly not trying to have actual real hostilities. So I mean, and we just saw the leak stuff. So it does seem to comport to that regular thing. But either way, it's like, it's freaky. I mean, I don't like it. I mean, it's clearly not going to be very good if war pops off with Iran. I mean, we're already in a weird economic spot, and I just, we will be in dire straits. I don't even, it's just going to be fucked. Like, I was just listening to the Tucker episode with, I believe the Caldwell guy, his name is the guy who was, got fired for maybe being possibly one of the leaks. Is the implication that although he never actually got, investigated or anything, he just got fired on a lark. He was like one of Hegseth's guys or something. And he was kind of making the same points that always get brought up. The idea of like what we are actually looking at if we're looking at war with Iran. Because we just had this idea that, over the decades, like, hey, we just go to war and no big deal, which I would say they're wrong there. Those were big deals. Millions of people died over in the Middle East, according to us. And the dollar, look at the state of the dollar currently right now. Look at our economy. it clearly has not benefited us. But most people don't get that. So they just go, oh, hey, we were over there. We were fine. We're still kicking. Everything's just like a normalcy bias thing. But it's, I don't know. I think Iran's a different beast entirely. I mean, they have a stranglehold on a lot of the world's oil. I mean, almost immediately our gas prices would go through the fucking roof. So, and then just kind of, I don't know, extrapolate from there and just realize that it's I mean, even if you do want to put aside the morality or the economics of it, the faulty sides of it, it's like, hey, you're literally going to basically off the jump, it's going to affect your daily life almost certainly. So compared to the other ones, which were probably not very noticeable. So either way, it's concerning. Although I really don't know where the people are at on this. So I don't know. I mean, is he really fully on board with Netanyahu? Maybe it really is with the Hegseths and the Tulsis and maybe the J.D. Vances of the world or in his administration that are the quote unquote good guys. I say that kind of silly because obviously, we saw the Houthi leak with J.D. Vance. It's kind of like he was the hero of the story, but really kind of a bitch-made hero, really. So that's just these are our heroes. But I don't know. It really is kind of hard to get a read. But I'd be remiss if I didn't let you guys know that that's something that's being thrown out there. So that's part of the perception game here that we have to interpret. So. But all right, as I mentioned earlier, we have the Pope that died. I'm not Catholic. I'm not particularly religious, but I thought it would be interesting to kind of maybe look back at him, and I think especially in light of all this stuff, I think it's kind of he clearly seemed to be a special fellow in that sort. I mean, like I said, I guess typically the popes are usually supposed to be neutral, so which I guess maybe some Catholics out there would be upset about this being the case, but I would think if you are to be a religious entity, it would make sense to speak out against this. This is pretty flagrantly just immoral, but apparently from the jump, Pope Francis was pretty much against this, and I guess basically up until the moment he died, he was contacting regularly with one of the churches and one of the Catholic churches there. So, and not only that, apparently he was. He also blamed. He also was against. He's against the Ukraine-Russia thing. So he's been kind of. It seems like pretty goddamn heroic. It seems like to me. So, I mean, we see here a quote from the people. This is Layla Anton, from one of the people that he would speak to regularly at their church in Gaza, and this is what she had to say. She said, "We felt at ease, and his voice made us forget the sound of the planes and the bombs, even if only for a few minutes. Gaza was among his last words." So let's play this video real quick. I just, I don't know, think it's worth remembering. I think this took a lot. So, Yusuf. Says, "Good evening, Holy Father. Good evening. How are you?" Says, "I'm well, thanks be to God. Forgive me, I was at the Mass." At Mass. What did you eat today? Chicken wings. The rest from the chicken from yesterday. The chicken that was left over. Yesterday they had chicken. Even the doctor had chicken. I believe that it's like God with you or something. So we want to thank you and we'll pray for you. Pray in my favor, not against me. It seems like kind of like a silly old man joke, which is kind of adorable, I guess, for the Pope. Talk tomorrow. Says thank you.
The brief calls were a small but powerful gesture, the Vatican said, offering connection and hope amidst isolation.
Yesterday I called, as I do every day, the parish in Gaza. They told me, "Today we ate lentils with chicken." It's important because these days they weren't used to it and only made some vegetables. They were happy, but let us pray for Gaza, for peace.
In his final days, even in critical condition, he stayed in touch with the Gaza parish.
We rejoice to hear his voice. This is always comforting, knowing that despite his delicate state of health, he continues to think and pray for everyone, for peace in Gaza, and thanking us at the same time for our constant prayers. Give us great joy.
All right, yeah, that's all of that one. Yeah. All right, I'm scrolling through the chat, seeing what you guys have to say. Figure I'd check in on you guys for a minute. Someone says Ezekiel 39 is all going to get nuked. I'm not sure what that one is offhand. Scrolling up. What is it? All right, scrolling through. Trump sucks Netanyahu? Sure does. To find out who rules over you, find out who you cannot criticize 100%. She should sue Corbo and have a court order him to post his height at all times. All right, that's pretty funny. All right, that's pretty good. Yeah, which I mean, I'm joking, but I'm short too. I'm shorter than Raven is, so but I'm probably about as short. So I love how white Jose sounds defending himself right now. I'm not sure what I was talking about earlier, but yeah, I'm pretty damn white, buddy. Oh, you were probably talking about the Tanya thing. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Okay, let's move on to the next story. We talked about this a little bit on Already Dead last night, but I did want to take a moment to scroll. I thought I did a pretty goddamn good rant on this. Yeah, you guys tell me if I did. I think my rant fucking crushed. But here we have Jordan Peterson in a little clip that we'll watch on Rogan. I think it's a little bit different than the one we played last night, but. Talking about psychopaths taking over the right, referring to like the Groypers and stuff. So, and then I just thought it was interesting too. Then we have Jordan Peterson, or not Jordan Peterson, Tim Pool saying, "Who are these psychopaths?" at Jordan Peterson, which I don't know. I don't really. It did. I mean, I guess maybe I should start paying attention to him a tiny bit more. Maybe some stuff Tim Pool's doing, since now he's actually like kind of mixing up with the White House. But I've seen some of the stuff he was saying about his time in the White House, and then. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and call it ahead of time. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I have a feeling. Just have a feeling. And don't take this as me like, saying like, oh, because then they'll be like, oh, you're running cover for Tim or something. Like, no, I'm not saying this is some like genuine thing. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if he does take on a little bit more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Contentious maybe role with the administration. And by that I mean kind of I forget what question he asked last night, but I think he asked some sort of question about the immigration stuff, and I think it was kind of pushing back on something, I think. But that kind of makes it a good example of what I'm getting at. Some generic boomer immigration stuff that's not really the big issue going on right now. Like, especially if you're focused on, immigration for MS-13, where it's like, yeah, that should be, you should kick down MS-13. But it's like, let's be real, how this is likely going to be used is going to end up being deportations for anti-Israel folks. So that really should be the focus. But point being is I could see him playing this role of, now I'm the guy who asks these hard-hitting questions, but the hard-hitting questions are not really going to be the hard-hitting questions. It's just a new era, like, is my point that I'm getting. It's a new era where we're being fed what is being shown, like the Daily Wires of the, we're the counterclass? That's not the right word I'm looking for. The counterculture. We're the counterculture here. So so he's going to be playing the role of like, we're the counterculture, whereas while not really being the counterculture. So essentially filling the role of the Daily Wire, essentially. So we'll see, which obviously I guess Daily Wire never really got to the role of what Tim's filling right now. So I guess, hey, whatever, he might have a good little run here, but as things do, I do think it will peter out, and being essentially the new establishment is not going to work out well in the long run, I don't think. So we'll see, but my point being is, in a certain sense, I'd say keep an eye on him, because he actually, while I did just kind of shit on him, as I was kind of driving at, he'll be probably, if I had to guess, one of the better voices there. So, I mean, do with that what you will. And even though I said it better, it's probably not the greatest kind of better. It's not the better that I would want, but I guess better than nothing, maybe? I don't know. But I thought this was kind of an example, since he's kind of, obviously driving at like, well, what do you mean, Jordan Peterson? Kind of getting at the fucking anti-Semites online or whatever. So let's go ahead and play this.
I think that virtualization has enabled the psychopaths.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, well,
Without a doubt.
that's a terrible thing because the psychopathic types, they're always the death of everything. Like I'm seeing this come up on the right now. So imagine this. I've been working on a new theory of political psychopathology, and I like it quite a lot.
Is this where the term the woke right comes in?
Yeah, well, Lindsay is pointing at that, but he hasn't
Yes.
got the diagnosis exactly right. So it isn't woke. That's not the issue. It's not exactly.
I
He's
think
one
what
level.
they're talking about is like similar types of behavior.
He is talking.
I gotta say, like, I haven't watched this yet, and I kind of want to now. Like, the more clips I see from this, the more I want to watch it because I can just sense the irritation in Rotten Joe, like almost like a humoring him, kind of like if you got set across the table from some faggot that you know is like there to destroy you, but you need to have a friendly conversation with. That's what this feels like, which is kind of great. Like the unsaid body language. It's like here is just I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading it because I've only seen a couple clips, but man, I feel it strong. Like it's a jumping off the screen type strong. Like he like literally is like, I don't know. I think if Rogan didn't have the biggest show in the world, this literally probably would be a very different vibe. It'd be like a yo dude, fuck you. But let's keep going about that.
Yeah, no,
but
what
it's
he's
just, woke just lets you clarify in your head. Oh, it's like that.
Yeah, but the problem is
It's like Antifa.
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is that
By the way, I think we did actually watch this last night, but whatever. I want to take a chance to drink it in more.
that argument is predicated on the claim that the ideas are the problem, like the woke ideas, for example, on the right or the left. But that's not the problem. The problem is,
of course, it's not the ideas, because keep in mind, they mention this. Okay, because it's good we play this again. Actually, I want to say this might be slightly different because I think they're talking about a similar thing. Maybe it's a different, longer, shorter, whatever. But it is interesting that he goes, "Oh no, it's not about the ideas," because it's like it's kind of like what I was listening to Dave's show the other day, and he was making fun of Konstantin Kisin because he was breaking down the debate, and he was like, "Oh, I mean, he obviously didn't say it this way, but he's like, if you throw out all the substance, then we get into some really interesting stuff," and like Dave got destroyed. Which even I don't even accept that, but it is also like the idea that you're like, oh, just hand wave away all the substance of the discussion. That's what this feels like right here. The idea of like, oh no, it's not about the woke. It's not about the idea. It's about, which I mean, I feel like he's about to describe what it's about, but it's awfully convenient. It's not about the idea, considering as that was what was seemingly kind of originally thrown out that it was like the idea, and then you have individuals like the Dave Smiths of the world who immediately came out and go, what the fuck are you talking about? Because no, this matches up in an ideological manner far more to like woke, what you guys think of woke, the left, than otherwise. So, but let's go and play this.
4 to 5% of the population, something like that, is cluster B. That's the DSM-5 terms: histrionic, narcissistic, antisocial, psychopathic, or they have dark tetrad.
Okay, so no. So what is the woke right? Is some sweeping fucking diagnosis? Okay, that's totally reasonable to use. Let's go on.
Traits. They're Machiavellian. They're sadistic. That's about 4%. Okay, so the question is, how do these people maneuver? And the answer is they go to where the power is, and they adopt those ideas, and they put themselves even on the forefront of that.
Right.
But the ideas are completely irrelevant.
Right.
All they're doing is they're the Pharisees. They're the modern version of the Pharisees. They're the people who use God's name in vain, right?
I don't know how you can use this line of argumentation without understanding the obvious, like incredibly, I don't know, I guess the standard anti-Semitic opposing point. Like, really? You're going to say... You're going to accuse the woke right of being Pharisees, of being overly, I don't know, I guess you could say legalistic. I don't think that's a fair way to point it out. If anything, like in the implication here being in like a wrong way, because that's kind of the implications I think typically with the Pharisees, because it's the idea that they have all these legalistic, it's more about the idea of something that is about the spirit of something. Obviously, you'll see some jokes about Jew stuff every now and then where you see some crazy thing they did or due to their belief system, and people go, oh, they're trying to trick God. It's kind of the same thing, the tricking God concept, as opposed to being focused on the spirit of a concept and like, hey, in the Bible it says this, thou shalt not do X, Y, Z or whatever in reference to food, water, whatever, dietary restrictions. And then they find all these million ways. They're like, well, if I interpret this thing that way, and if I interpret this thing that way, then technically by the word of the law, I'm following. You're like, you get to a point where you're playing word games and doing like, what is it, what's it, the lines? They have that, I forget there's a term for it too. Like even the fishing lines that create like, actual neighborhood barriers in fucking like New York and Boston and stuff. So the point being is like I would think most Christians would probably make the point. It's like no, you guys are wrong. Like you're missing the point. Like if God says, hey, do X, it's because of a reason. It's not so that you can find it says here it says do Y, and if you combine Y with X, and if I understand Y this way, then that means I can do X. Like that's what the Pharisees are. Whereas if anything, it's actually what he's referring to kind of here is like it says the Pharisees, I guess, just having a standard, I guess. And I wouldn't say the Pharisees here in this situation aren't, I don't know, maybe I'm trying way too hard to understand what he's saying. Let's keep going.
Proclaim moral virtue.
Yes.
Doesn't matter whether it's right or left or Christian or Jewish or Islam.
I think it does matter whether it's right or right. Well, he says right or left, but I think it matters whether it's right or wrong. Which I guess, to be fair, he didn't say it didn't. But it does seem like, we're hand-waving away from the idea, and now we're getting away to, as I implied, kind of almost like diagnosing or let's point out negative things about them, as opposed to the ideas they are espousing. So
they invade the idea space, and then they use those ideas as false weapons to advance their narcissistic advantage.
Yeah. So what you're saying here is someone takes truth and uses it to their advantage. Sorry.
And so then you have the problem, and the right's going to face this more and more, particularly because the left had to face it when they were in powers.
Yes.
How do you identify the psychopathic parasites, 4% of the population, who are clothed in your clothing and waving your flags, but who are only in it for narcissistic benefit?
All right, so I guess this is his convoluted understanding of what the woke right is. That's not retarded at all. So, all right, let's check in the chat, see what you guys says. Listen to "Let's Get Retarded" here by Black Eyed Peas. Hell yeah, dude! Good song. Scrolling through, see what you guys have to say before we move on to the next one. I am part of the problem. I think we're all part of the problem. All right, so you guys shoot the shit about Timmy, old Timmy P. Good morning, Helper Chloe. Good morning. All right, let's go into, he just described himself, Jack said. That's sort of what I was getting at, but not really. I did think it ironic that he brought up legalistic, kind of Pharisees. And it's like, dude, you do realize, like, you're literally arguing on behalf of the Jays here. Like, and I don't mean that in like I don't know, how do you miss that larger context if you're talking about this? You're like, dude, you're literally accusing Pharisees overly legalistic or using, what would be perceived as logical points as weapons. I don't know. It's a little wild to me to use that as an argument when the in the background we're talking about the Jays. A little silly. Although I guess to be fair, Rogan's a little bit more mature than me, so it makes sense he wouldn't bring this up. All right, here's in the area of the kind of the intellectual dark web type folks. I thought it was worthwhile, showing someone who's kind of been on the right side of things, and I did have a little bit of a rant a while ago about this guy's brother. For those listening audio, we're about to play a video of Brett Weinstein, who is what's the other Weinstein? Eric Weinstein's brother. And both of them were guys who were like part of like the intellectual dark web or whatever. Obviously these guys both have Stein in their last name, so like, we know what's going on there. I don't mean that in like a bad way. I'm just saying they're obviously Jewish, so it's like, cards on the table. It makes sense that they'd have some thoughts about the whole Israel thing. But this is kind of a video that seems like Brett's kind of on the better side of things. And I did have a little bit of a video recently where I kind of was ranting about the IDW and kind of how they're forming around Rogan and Dave and like the different tactics they seem to be taking. It's almost as if they're trying to like divide and conquer and use different methods. As I even mentioned, like for example, like I mentioned James Lindsay, I kind of like use the example of he's kind of like a top lobster. He's kind of trying to be, I guess you could say, disingenuous or bombastic or, but he's not good at it. And it's kind of the same thing with a lot of these other guys. And now I did say that I got the impression from Brett's brother, Eric, who is also Peter Thiel's money manager, which is like, holy shit. I did get the impression that, from his interactions that I don't trust him. I don't trust Eric. I could be completely wrong, and maybe I'm just misreading him, but just like, because technically it's like, what is his crime that I'm about to tell you? Being, friendly and not overly, argumentative, I guess. So kind of generally sort of being a good guy. I mean, he still admits he's like pro-Israel. He's like kind of, on that side of the narrative, but he has kind of ingratiated himself around the major characters who seem to fill the role of being the anti-Israel, if you want to call it that, folks, like the Dave Smiths. Obviously, I know they don't think they're actually anti-Israel, but you know what I mean. The Dave Smiths, the Daryl Coopers, like he's made himself, he's essentially, inserted himself into those circles to create relationships with them, which maybe he's just being cool. Maybe he is, but I don't know, just something about him. He just strikes me smarmy, weird. I don't trust him. I would be lying to you if the whole Thiel money manager wasn't a factor here. But I don't know how to describe it. But then Brett gives me a different feeling. So I don't. He comes off as genuine. He comes off. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just a matter of just how they deliver information. Maybe one just has a more trusting face. I have no idea. But either way, I mean, who knows? Maybe Brett is an unwitting asset or something, or his brother was some sort of glowy of some sort, or part of some sort of, conspiracy or something. Yet Brett is unaware. I mean, one doesn't necessitate the other. If anything, it's almost better if you have like a younger brother that's pretty genuine, and you can just be like, oh, but you have this genuine thing off to your side. But either way, let's play this. So enough conspiracizing. I'm just saying, before people come out and you're like, oh, it's Brett Weinstein. I mean, he's saying some pretty damn good stuff, and I'm not really getting any sort of ulterior motives from him, but I don't follow him enough, so I don't know.
The mechanism by which we discovered it is well known. It is the exact thing that the founders of this great country put first on the list of our enumerated rights for a goddamn reason. It was, they couldn't name a podcast. They couldn't have called out Joe Rogan, but they came as close as they could come to saying, sorry, there's no source of high quality information versus low quality information, malinformation, disinformation. You can't know ahead of time. The mechanism by which you come to understand what is true, Douglas, is discussion. It is discussion in which nobody gets to set the rules about what kinds of opinions can be investigated. And yes, that does cause some garbage stuff to be said, but what reveals that it's garbage stuff? Free and open inquiry that reveals that actually it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. That's how you do it, Konstantin Kisin. I don't know what's wrong with these people. It's really like somebody has figured out how to threaten them into saying things that they full well know aren't true.
They're becoming what they were fighting against.
They're becoming what they were fighting against. And I must say, in both of those cases, I feel like I don't think I was duped to begin with, that they actually held free speech as a high value. So the fact that they are backing away from it and calling for some kind of standard, self-imposed or otherwise, to prevent certain, the fact is, heterodoxy is heterodoxy. And it often sounds crazy, and most of it is. But the good stuff is the stuff that sounds crazy that then does strangely stand up to scrutiny. That's how you figure out what's coming, is you look at the heterodox stuff and you figure out what has predictive power. And you can't get around that. And the people who tried failed.
Yeah, I mean, he basically straight up called them out on this. And I know I see someone in here saying Eric Weinstein's closely connected to Thiel, which is always sus. Yeah, as I mentioned, his brother is Thiel's money manager. So it's hard not to notice that. And it is weird. It was kind of, that whole diatribe was kind of like, even within myself, I'm conflicted. Because like I find myself having a natural trusting vibe when it comes to Eric. And I don't mean trusting like I buy everything he's saying. I'm just saying that's my intuition, is to be more comforted by him in a sense. But then whereas his brother, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I mean, maybe it really is just as simple as that his brother is just fucking more unsightly. Maybe I'm just that vain, because he does always bring up that one large mole on his nose. He's kind of, I mean, he's like kind of literally a parody of what a Jew looks like, almost. Not quite, but almost. Like, so it is like I can kind of get like, maybe that's why, maybe I'm just that vain. Maybe I just can't get past that, and that's why maybe I trust physiognomy too much, but that's just my impression. Now, whereas Eric, I don't get that vibe from, so I don't know. Well, this doesn't mean I'm correct. I'm just saying these are the intuitions I'm getting from it. But anyways, yeah. So I like these guys. Says Gerald, I just don't like it when they talk about these alt-right influencers, shill feds. Good night, bro. Oh, good night. Jeez, where the hell are you at with a good night here? But alt-right when they talk about these alt-right influencers, shill feds. I don't like it when they talk about. Okay, so you don't like it when they talk about like Fuentes and stuff. I'm assuming is what they're getting at. I would assume that's what you're getting at. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next topic. But yeah, I thought that was worthwhile on the whole like intellectual dork web type stuff. I thought it was yeah. Eric is likely raise your internet rates. Oh shit! Tell me if I'm wrong, Northside. Is that you making like a slight reference or just recalling? Obviously, it would be probably way too niche to make it, but I'm pretty sure it was either reported or Elon himself said it or something, or I want to say Eric actually himself even posted it maybe about like he was complaining that he was like he was actually, I want to say it was him. I want to say it was Eric. So actually like I'm walking back what a weirdo he is now, because now I'm thinking about, I'm like, he's kind of a fucking weirdo. Because now I'm remembering he did this weird thing where he was like literally just like spamming Elon's inbox on Twitter and essentially asking for essentially better algo, but like framing it in a way that was like, oh, here's this, that. And I think he was also kind of complaining from my recollection of kind of the anti-Semitism stuff, but essentially in Elon's DMs, essentially asking for him to straighten out his fucking Twitter or what he thinks were deficiencies in his Twitter or something, which is like insane. The idea that you're gonna like, oh, I'll just hit up the CEO of this company, which like I don't these. I mean, maybe Eric. I mean, that reminds me of. It's funny that I'm recalling Eric doing this, because actually, this is kind of the sort of behavior that makes me untrusting of his brother, because his brother does weird shit like this too. I'll have to find. There was this weird account I found, or YouTube account I found recently, that like their whole thing is like they cover weird things like this. Like they did a whole breakdown of like God, I gotta keep forgetting his brother's name. Not Eric, but the other one. He did a whole breakdown on him and the weird shit and him crying about not going on Rogue and this and that. But I think that might be where I learned about his brother, like literally like posting, like he almost like had no cognition that this is a socially improper thing to do. Oh, I'm retarded. Never mind. Okay, it was Brett. I'm retarded. I'm mixing up Brett and Eric. So sorry if that's confusing to you guys. I was referring to. I thought, okay, you were referring to Eric. I was referring to Brett. Brett, the one that we're seeing here, he did do some weird shit where he fucking where you like hit up. Like I said, he was so to be clear, it was Brett that was the one who was in Elon's DMs. Eric was not, but Eric is the one who is like weird shit where he's cried about like not being on Rogan lately and how these people are ignoring him and this, and he's going all these large things and being like, why are all these people ignoring? It's just very bizarre. These do seem like entitled people, like very, very, very self-important. So I will just say at the very least, Brett seems to be, I don't know, seems to be more, I don't know, more legit. So here's Mike saying Eric is definitely shadier than the two brothers. Brett actually seems a little more honest and genuine. See, that's what I'm getting at. But now that I'm like recalling some of the weird shit that Brett has done too, and I'm like, I don't know, he's kind of a fucking weirdo too. But hey, whatever. I guess if we got some decent people, then yeah. So all right, let's get to. But yeah, I trust neither Weinstein. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm like talking myself out of it. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't either. But whatever. It's good to have this information out there in the fore. I guess in some way, even if it's just the rhetoric, because I mean, hell, that rhetoric was pretty strong. Like, even if we do want to take this guy as some sort of actor, you can't take away the oomph that thing did. So, as I've been known to say, limited hangouts are a good thing. So, if this is some sort of limited hangout, boy, oh boy, was that it was not very limited. Because like I guess the limited here is the idea that he's still some sort of spook or something. But he's still kind of calling these motherfuckers out and saying, hey, these dudes are clearly conspiring together and are not to be trusted. And in an inorganic and disingenuous way. Like, they're doing it on purpose. Like, he heavily implied that. Like, he said, like, it looks as if someone's gotten to these people or something. So, I don't think he could say it any clearer. So, at the very least, that's cool that we got that. But Weinstein just has a trusting ring, doesn't it? All right, let's get into let's cover this thread with Richard, my buddy. OKC Facts. Go give him a follow. This is Richard Booth, who I would consider to be probably one of the top 3 preeminent experts on the Oklahoma City bombing still living. I mean, maybe I could think of what was probably Jesse Trinidad, Richard Booth, and Wendy Painting. I'd say would probably be the top 3 that I can think of right now, living ones. A special mention to Ken Silva and Scott Horton. So, but either way, this is for those, if you're new to my channel, this is a guy that I mentioned on Jake's channel or on Jake's show that I had on for the series. So we did somewhere in the realm of like 15 to 20 hours on the Oklahoma City bombing, and this is the guy I brought on. He's the one who manages the Oklahoma City bombing public archive on the Libertarian Institute. He's the one who puts that all together. It's the largest public archive. So I do recommend following him if you are into Oklahoma City stuff. He posts about it quite frequently. So, but all right, let's go ahead and read this. So this is Richard saying, who did the OKC bombing? Tim McVeigh. I agree with that. Who were his 2 closest accomplices? CIA asset Roger Moore, who provided the binary explosives and the cash, and CIA asset Andy Strassmeyer, who was building a domestic Gladio army at Elohim City after his cutout was hijacked by his CIA pals. Now, he did a quote tweet. This was a quote tweet of something that he had shared before, which I guess is a previous thread, which maybe I'll have to actually come back to that one now that I think about it, because he posted this. He posted something about the Murrah building being bombed before, so maybe we'll cover this one tomorrow. Come back to that. So he did quote tweet another thread here. But I'm reading this mostly because I know I'm coming off of this Jake Shields episode, and there was some complaints, which, to be fair, anytime you stroll the comments of any sort of performance you do, if you do something like this, you're always going to hear complaints. But it's a little bit hard, damages your ego, but it's worthwhile. So you can kind of be like, oh, what should I work on? Obviously, there's always going to be some complaints. To some extent, you can't make everyone happy. But I'd say that probably the through lines were probably 2. I mentioned one last night. It was kind of that I think they were saying I was kind of, speaking a little too fast, kind of all over the place. And I think that was a function of that I was trying to do the Oklahoma City bombing like under 2 hours, which is quite a tall order. And surprisingly, it was probably about halfway through, and I was like, oh shit, I'm surprised that we've actually covered a large bit of it. So then I realized I could slow down. But anyways, so in the future, hopefully, I think, if I did something like that again, I'd probably be more mindful of just kind of calming down, slowing down, going through the information slower. But obviously there also were people kind of like, what really happened? Why didn't they tell me? Which honestly, I get that one every time. So like, it's not even that that's one I feel like I'm upset about or I want to work on. I don't want to work on that one, honestly. Actually, I'm kind of fine with that. People coming away and be like, oh, well, I don't get it. What happened? And you're like, yeah, okay, but like, yeah, like Richard, he's kind of telling you what happened here, but if we're going on a show and we're laying out information, this, that, this, we usually how it works is like, especially with something like a research type thing like this, we'll give you the information and then kind of, sometimes we'll straight up say what it is depending on what the thing is, but a lot of times it's kind of like we're leaving it for you to fill it in. So, sometimes it's on you. If you're like, what happened here? I'm like, I don't know. What do you think happened here? I gave you a shitload of information. You can't put 2 and 2 together? What do you think happened here? Because obviously we're going to have different opinions. And why does it matter what I think happened? Because I'm not telling you what happened. It just seems that people, it's all too common, especially when you take a conspiracy parapolitical thing and take it to, especially someplace that's not their bread and butter, that they are a lot of times like, just tell me what happened. What happened? And you're like, well, for one, that would be like a fucking 10-minute podcast. Like if that were the case. Also, then it would be, the podcast would never happen, because otherwise, why would anyone care about if we know literally everything that happened in any sort of deep event? Like the idea that this would still get traction on podcasts or whatever, it's like, obviously that's the goal. That's what I want. I want everything to be revealed, but it's not you gotta put things together. I don't know what to tell you. I literally can't hold your hand through everything, but I think we did a good job. I think by the end of that episode, we laid down enough of the dots that I think quality people out there can kind of connect it. And even then, I think especially once the second episode dropped, there are some people that maybe didn't connect the dots, and in a fair sense, I'm not saying they're all retarded, But I think this second episode that drops in like a month on Jake Shields, where we get into like child trafficking networks and kind of how this connects into like a larger thing, I think you'll really, really get what I was getting at if I didn't just straight up say it explicitly. So I didn't really get a chance to like say it per se. I mean, it kind of heavily implied repeatedly, but we're kind of basically about to say what I think essentially happened, because I mean, me and Richard are pretty much in lockstep here. I mean, maybe there's some minor things here, but for the most part, we're pretty much in agreement. But anyways, and I did straight up say at some point, I think I mentioned the FBI sting. So, and heavily alluding to perhaps it's a sting, so this says the sting operation was punked. They had a tracker on the wrong truck, for one. Which, as I said, I do try to lay these things out to where people can connect these dots, and I don't always say it explicitly. So I'm pretty sure I laid out some of the information of kind of like a sting, maybe multiple trucks, this, that, kind of like, ooh, if you put it together, you can kind of figure it out. So that was either Richard Guthrie's brilliance or the CIA guys involved. So the latter there is kind of what I kind of lean towards. So obviously you have the former, Richard Guthrie's brilliance, which once again, for those, I know a lot of you are coming over from Jake Shields, perhaps. So Richard Guthrie, which I mentioned in the show, he was like essentially one of the head guys of the ARA, the Aryan Republic Army, which we talked about in the show. So we talked about that quite a bit. I mentioned how that had been talked about by John Matthews and Don Jarrett about how that was they said that was a Fed front, and these were the people hanging out in Elohim City. This is also likely Strassmeyer was tied in with this group. But either way, the point being that obviously the former point there, either Richard Guthrie's brilliance is implying the idea of, let's say, a legit, right-wing, what do we want to call these Elohim City guys? Right-wing, racist, whatever the fuck you want to call it. He became hip to like something was going on and changed things last minute. So this would be the idea that like the criminals, realized that the fuzz was trying to get them, and they changed some things. The latter, the CIA guys involved, obviously implies something very different. That implies they made it go live. The idea, and this is kind of what I was getting at in the episode. I mentioned multiple times how FBI this, FBI. I do think maybe I didn't do the greatest job of implying the next level of like, hey, that we have an FBI op here, PatCon, that's going around infiltrating stuff. But now we have these other individuals, these other CIA guys that are kind of involved. I mean, hell, one of the guys who Strassmeyer was living with was a former Phoenix guy, which was essentially, Gladio / Northwoods if it had actually happened, but in Vietnam. And so it's like now we have these people that, these CIA assets, and then also involved in shady stuff. And it's like, okay, it looks like we're seeing a CIA component here. And it kind of makes sense they would fill like a Gladio role. So, I mean, if you look at it from this perspective, it's kind of almost genius. If you were a CIA entity out there and you wanted to make something go live, infiltrate some sort of other op, FBI, ATF, any number of the other 3-letter agencies that have, informants, infiltrate one of those, make it go live, walk away. It's like because what happens now when you do that? They're forced to cover it up. Because let's say this was a sting operation by let's say some sort of PatCon sting operation in conjunction with the ATF, who had just recently been doing what the Depot Might fucking exercise, which I believe was involved fucking truck bombs and stuff of the like. So it looks like some sort of joint task force, something or other going on here. But let's just say, yeah, there's some PatCon op infiltrating things, and then all you do, you take a couple CIA guys, you insert them somewhere within that, and then you just make it go live, walk away, and now they're forced to cover it up. Because what do you really think the PatCon's going to go? Oh, guess what, guys? We're going to go ahead and admit to this sweeping right-wing infiltration operation that we've got going across the country all the way back to Waco and before. And not only that, this one we fucked up really hard, guys. Super duper bad. Like, yeah, we had a fucking transponder on the Ryder truck, and then, oh, lo and behold, looks like the CIA or some right-wing radical fucking figured it out, and they got a new Ryder truck, and they took the other Ryder truck for a goose chase, and then we followed the wrong truck, and then they went to a different location as opposed to the federal courthouse like we all thought they were going to go, which is where our fucking bomb squads were at the night before looking for a bomb, and then lo and behold, it ends up across the street at the federal courthouse, and kaboom. I really don't. I can totally see why the FBI would go, oh fuck, we fucked up. Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, and then they go and slowly pull the fucking the Simpson thing and back off into the bushes. Actually, that's not true. That would be the CIA back into the bushes. It would be because the FBI is like, oh shit, because now you have this fucking, now it's in your lap. You've just fucking your ketchup bottle exploded in your lap. That's what they're dealing with, and like, oh no, now we got to deal with it. Which I find to be, especially, as I've read a bunch of books on this, read a bunch of articles, that kind of comports to my understanding of the story. Because, I mean, if you see how the FBI and the ATF and then others were acting, this did not seem coordinated, like the cover-up. The cover-up did not seem coordinated. If anything, that's why it's obviously a cover-up, because it's like there are a lot of retarded shit when you get into the weeds of looking to the cover-up of this. So, I mean, this kind of leans towards, I don't think this was a pre-planned thing on that end. Now, could there have been CIA involved or something went wrong and now they're forced to go, oh shit, now we got to straighten things up? Yes, that would make sense. So second, they had assets reporting what would happen at night and disinforming the FBI or waiting FBI sting squad, which that's another thing too. This bombing was, reported that it was supposed to happen essentially in the middle of the night at the courthouse. So that way there'd be no deaths, and just, they swing in and just stop the guy. And they have this cool, fucking sting moment. But that's not how things went. Meanwhile, the agency had everything they needed with Roger Moore, Andy Strassmeyer, Dave Holloway, and very likely several others, one of whom I suspect to be Louis Beam, who I suspect has been a CIA asset since he returned from Nam with CIA Julius Amos leaderless resistance paper, which that is interesting. The leaderless resistant paper is a big part of what created the concept of the ARA. Essentially, like the ARA was as I mentioned before, was a group of robbers, that would rob banks, and their purported reasoning was to essentially for a larger movement. And so, and they even in them, they've said many times, multiple, that this was a cell-based thing. The idea that this was one cell, and there were other cells part of a larger movement, and they were just one node of this. So I'm not saying a bunch of cells of robbers. The idea being you would have a cell of robbers, you would have a cell of bombers, you would have a cell of this, a cell of that. Specialized small groups with limited interaction between each group. That way you have plausible deniability. Sounds very glowy to me, doesn't it? But no, this is Louis Beam got a hold of this, brought it over to, and kind of disseminated it within the racist right, if you want to call it that. And the rest was history. And then we end up with the ARA, having a cell, making heavy allusions to other cells. So I mean, I would contend that likely, I think Strassmeyer, McVeigh, some of these other folks. There was Stephen Colburn, who was one of the other, likely probably assisted with the bombing. These, and even probably Terry Nichols to some degree, were part of probably some other cell, and likely a cell that, how it worked within these cells, I believe they only had one point man within each cell that would talk to the others. So I forget which one it was in the ARA. It was either Guthrie or Langan. I forget which one was the point man there. But yeah, and they wouldn't even they weren't even supposed to tell each other their own names within the cell. So point being is, it's kind of like you listen to the methods there, and it sounds very much like some glowy shit. Anyways, so this is something he would only receive if you were working Phoenix, which I suspect that Louis Beam was, and that when he returned to the U.S., he was domestic gladio. This man tried to strangle to death the Chinese ambassador in the 80s. No jail time. All right, that's pretty wild. He murdered Vietnamese fishermen in the 80s. No jail time. He shot straight to the top of the white supremacist culture. Good spot to have a domestic gladio guy. He's still alive. All right. Okay. And he also knew about the bombing before it happened. We have the documents. Louis Beam, domestic gladio CIA asset. He based his essay, Leaderless Resistance, aimed at giving white supremacist terrorists a manual on how to form phantom cells, on a CIA white paper by Colonel Julius Amos. In 1988, Louis Beam nor anyone else has access to classified 1961 CIA papers used, in fact, in their war against Castro. Now, bear in mind, we're talking about the 80s. The idea that this guy's getting a hold of fucking CIA white papers is incredibly sketchy. Like, if someone got a hold of a CIA white paper now, you'd be like, that's weird. But you're like, I don't know, maybe somehow he hacked something or something, this or that. And I guess, sure, that's technically probably possible in the 80s, but things were far more paper based, and it was so the idea that the idea that you have a white paper in the 80s is just kind of CIA white paper, pretty nuts. However, these people in Nam working counterinsurgency in Phoenix most certainly did have access to Hamas's paper, which Louis Beam rewrote when he got back to the United States and distributed to every violent neo-Nazi in the country. No, nothing to see here. That isn't Phoenix at home, is it? That isn't domestic Gladio, is it? It sure as hell is. CIA asset and white supremacist leader Louis Beam dramatically carries his wife away from the 1988 Fort Smith sedition trial, where he was just found not guilty of all the charges because he was working for the CIA the entire time. By the way, his wife, she murdered a couple Mexican policemen. A CIA asset named Dave Holloway went down to Mexico and got her out of jail and back to the States. Now, Dave Holloway, I told you guys on the Jake Shields episode, that was one of the CIA assets that fucking... and it was really assets, actually putting it lightly. He was a CIA pilot. So he was a pilot for the CIA. But he... what was I going to say? He's the same guy. There's a second guy that Andy Strassmeyer went to go live with down in San Saba, Texas, in Texas Light Infantry, where he then got kicked out of for likely being a glowy. Probably using a bag of money, which, yeah, I believe it actually was the case. Nobody else murders 2 Mexican federales and gets away with it, but Louis Weems' wife sure as hell does, with her CIA husband and CIA friend Dave Holloway coming to authorities with a big bag of dollars. So yeah, that's the end of that thread. So that way you guys get an idea of what I was getting at with that episode. For those new people here, now you know. All right, let's scroll through the chat, see what you guys have to say. So somebody says, watch the Jake Shields episode last night. You and Austin Crush. Good shit, fellas. Thank you, pal. More love on the Shields episode from Northside. Thanks, pal. Appreciate it. Scrolling. Coffee strong as fuck this morning. Yeah, it is. It's waking me up. I'm sure you're referring to yours, though. All right. Scrolling through. All right. What's up, Dr. Eek? Been a while since I've seen you. Good morning, Bobo. Man, what the hell? What is Taos? You guys are talking about Taos in there? What the fuck are you guys talking about? I keep seeing Taos. I don't know where Taos is. All right. Yeah, appreciate it. You said we crushed that Jake Shields episode as well. Thank you. I'm excited to see it was a long episode. Yeah, it was still pretty long. And I don't know if I've told you guys this today, if you watched last night, and I've said it many times, I think. But I mean, it was like I said it before the episode, so it's like one of those things that I'm sure you could be like, Jose, is that still the case? Or were you full of shit? Or, But yeah, we recorded a second episode, so that'll be out in a month. So, and that's about the same length. So yeah, it was definitely a longer episode. So, but all right, let's get into the next thing. Let's talk about weird tech glowy shit. See what these fucks are doing. These fucking glowy spooks. Here we have, this is from Myth Ray Velvet, shared it with me and Austin, but this is from Jason Kobler. Scoop internal Palantir Slack messages obtained by Joseph F. Cox show the company did a recent sprint to build a tool that helps ICE find the physical locations of people who have been marked for deportation. So let's read this real quick. Leaked Palantir's plan to help ICE deport people. Internal Palantir Slack chats and message boards obtained by 404 Media show the contracting giant is helping find the location of people flagged for deportation. That Palantir is now a more mature partner to ICE and how Palantir is addressing employee concerns with discussion groups on ethics. Palantir's surveillance giant is taking on an increased role with immigration with ICE, including finding the physical location of people who are marked for deportation. According to Palantir Slacks and other internal messages obtained by 404 Media, the leak shows that Palantir's work with ICE includes producing leads for law enforcement to find people to deport. So they're producing leads also too. So not only, which is kind of even weirder, the idea that they're not only are they they're not reactive, they're proactive. And keeping track of the logistics of Trump's mass deportation effort, and provides concrete insight into the Trump administration's wish to leverage data to enforce its immigration agenda. The internal communications also show Palantir leadership preparing for a potential backlash from employees or outsiders, with them writing facts that can be sent to friends or family that start to ask about Palantir's work with ICE. Hey all, want to provide a quick update on our work with ICE. Akash Jain, the CTO of Palantir Technologies and president of Palantir USG, wrote in a Slack message several days ago. Over the last few weeks, we prototyped a new set of data integrations and workflows with ICE. Now, this is where then it kind of goes into the paywalled portion. So, but we got the gist of it here. It just I find it interesting that we're going to be. It's not too much longer that I'll fucking hit send on a tweet and then fucking here comes the fucking super fucking no longer the death drone and now the arrest drone coming to get me, send me over to hang out with Bukulele and wherever the fuck he's at, and over in where is he at, El Salvador or some shit, because I said some mean stuff about the Jews, because that totally checks out, right? All right, let's get into. Let me see. I covered everything I want to cover today, but there's a couple more we can go through. Here is. I meant to mention this earlier, but I thought this is something that happened while we were out. I didn't really get a chance to cover it because it's 17th this dropped, so this was literally Thursday, so it was literally right after. So it's a little bit old, but I really had to cover this one. This is gross as shit. Here is there's a Yemeni health ministry spokesman says the U.S. bombed the port again while rescue workers were on scene. So, all right, here we go. This starts out. We'll follow along from the beginning. Here we go. Originally by this Al Sabahi guy. He says, urgent Hodeidah, initial death toll from U.S. aggression on Ras Issa port. Oops, shit, I clicked out of it. Give me a second. On Ras Issa port, 13 workers and employees were killed and 30 others were injured in the Ras Issa oil port as a result of the American aggression on the port, northwest of Al Hudaydah Governorate. This is an incomplete toll as rescue teams with civil defense and ambulance teams are still working with all their might. No, it's okay. So we have 13 workers killed, 30 others injured. And now this is at a oil port, which is a civilian area. So I guess their argument is that they were using fuel because, their stuff takes fuel as well. I don't think that holds up in when it comes to the law of war. I don't think you still could just bomb civilian infrastructure just because they use. I mean, I think there's some asterisks there. It depends on what you mean by use, but I mean, if that's the only oil port, it's is it really? It's like I don't feel like that rises to the level of an actual military target. But some we see, Dave Camp commenting on it. So this is gross to begin with, but this isn't even where it ends. So here we go. We see Dave saying that they said they bombed him again. So he's sharing another post from Dr. Anis Al-Asbahi. It says, initial reports indicate that rescue and ambulance teams were among the victims as a result of being targeted by the U.S. aggression aircraft, which again targeted the Ras Issa oil port in the governorate, coinciding with the work of civil defense, rescue, and ambulance teams to extinguish the fires and recover the victims. So let's I'll just go ahead and just to put this. He actually Dave says himself. He says 5 paramedics reported killed by the U.S. double tap bombing the field port in Yemen, which also killed at least 15 civilian workers, a barbaric crime. Dave DeCamp's 100% correct here. But yeah, the double tap, if you guys didn't catch this detail, as I mentioned, for one, this is a civilian infrastructure. For second, they waited a substantial period of time until rescue workers appeared and then hit it again. I mean, this is, and just to, in case you missed this, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world and we focus a lot on the crazy stuff Israel does. This was the United States. This is Yemen. This is the whole Houthi thing. This is the United States doing this, not Israel, where we go, oh my God, look at these backwards, look at this awful, or even if you're on the other side, I think it's not Hamas either, where they go, oh, look at these awful crimes Hamas has done, which yes, both sides guilty of crimes. I mean, barbaric crimes. I mean, I'll be honest, from the bits I've seen, it looks like Israel's winning that competition, but both are shitty. But no, this is the United States, the bastion of freedom in this world, supposedly. The arbiters of morality, the hegemons of the world. This is how we treat the most impoverished country in the world, just flagrantly destroying civilian infrastructure and murdering rescue workers. So this is what Israel has turned us into. Sleep with dogs, you'll get fleas. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've been like this before, but it just only gets worse. So, wild stuff. All right, let's check in the chat, see what you guys say. I think I'm gonna roll out. But that's I know that one. I remember. I'm glad I brought that up because that story's just fucked up, dude. Like I don't know. I mean, I get it. Like when you see Israel doing stuff, it's like whatever. It's Israel. They're fucked up. They do that shit. But this is their own country. So, thank you, CIA, says Helper Crow. Yeah. Scrolling through here. Scrolling through, just seeing what you guys have to say. Eric is doing the math calculations of where all the legals are located. Yeah. I mean, it is weird to think that, like, oh, they're just going to do. Oh, anti-Israelism detected, and boop, he's right here. Go get him. All right. I think I got all the stuff. Let me see. It's still pretty early. What else should we go to? Let's do this. Let's cover a little bit more on the shooter, the Florida shooter. We talked about this a little bit last night, but a little background information. Once again, this is all old stuff. You know, this is all stuff we're catching up on because we were gone, and we literally then tied into a weekend as well, so added to it. So it was a busy weekend, and then we missed extra days as well. But we have Ken who covered this. I guess it was the 19th. Okay, this was Saturday, not too long ago. But just more information about the shooter. This is a 20-year-old Florida State University shooter, Phoenix Ickner, alleged shooter, obviously, son of Leon County Sheriff's Deputy. That's the gun he used. So, but this is Ken, sharing more information about him and saying that he was abused by his mother and was developmentally disabled. Here's an excerpt from a piece on this. It says the suspect changed his name when he was 15. The suspect legally changed his name when he was 15 because of a tragic event that happened when he was 10 or 11, according to court documents. He blamed the unspecified tragedy on his mother as he sought to rid himself of her last name and take his father's. The suspect was a 10th grade honor roll student named Christian Gunnar Erickson in 2019 when he and his father, Christopher Ickner, filed a petition for a name change in Leon County. He showed up to a court hearing dressed in his Navy Junior ROTC uniform. His mother, Anne Marie Erickson, objected to the name change, but Administrative Magistrate James Banks said at the hearing that he found the teen to be mentally, emotionally, and physically mature and very polite. He sees himself as a phoenix, rising from the ashes with renewed youth in life, the magistrate wrote. In April 2015, when the suspect was 10, Christopher Ickner asked a court to grant him emergency custody of his son, alleging that Erickson had absconded with him weeks earlier, Erickson being the ex-wife, and did not plan to return. Erickson and her mother had allegedly tricked the boy into boarding a plane that they said was bound for Disney World, but was actually headed to Norway, where the boy and his mother had dual citizenship. Eventually, court records say Christopher Ickner went to Norway and found his son with the help of police. They returned to the U.S. in July 2015, the documents say. The boy told his stepmother, Jessica Ickner, that Erickson had forced him to lie to his mother about doing his homework, taking the hormone shots required for his growth disorder, and brushing his teeth. I would like to know more about that. That's interesting. He said his mother didn't bring his toothbrush or buy him one, and that he did not brush his teeth for 103 days. After they returned to the U.S., the boy and his father successfully sought a protective order against Erickson, who they accused of domestic violence, including scratching and punching her child, courts show. It's awful. I'm very much not a fan of, I'm very much a fan of peaceful parenting. So that's not cool. But yeah, so that's they're a little bit more on him, so that you understand the kind of the background of him. I know we talked about a little bit last night. Actually, one of the guys called in last night and said that what was it? It was actually your mom who might be here. Said they fucking it was Sandy Hook people that were like in there, like Sandy Hook classmates or whatever. Some of the victims. I mean, one of the victims was a relative of a Cuban exile. Just you look at the victims, and it's weird. You're like, at first, I'd seen the Cuban exile one. I was kind of like, whatever. That's one thing, because I thought it was a shooter. They were saying at first was this like relative, like a direct relative of a Cuban exile, and I was like, holy shit. And then when I found out it was a victim, I was like, oh, wow, whatever. That's like, I mean, it's something, but basically nothing. And then when I found out, like, oh shit, now supposedly there's Sandy Hook people involved. I'm like, holy fuck, what is going on here? So I don't know what's going on here. I haven't dug into it enough. Maybe this is something we'll dig into and find out more on. Keep an eye. I mean, you guys can keep an eye out on it as well. Obviously, when it comes to this show, it's very much formed by you guys. So you guys are eyes and ears out there. So, I mean, you're doing a lot of the research for us. So tag us if you see interesting stuff along those lines. So, all right, let's scroll through the chat a little bit, see what you guys have to say. Sexy, handsome at it again, I see. Every breath you take. Thanks, Somnambulism Schism. I appreciate it. So Control Alt Dig said I started bagging my farts in Ziploc bags and bringing them in the yard to do my part. Awesome. So it was Parkland, not Sandy Hook. My bad. Okay, even still, that's still wild. Oh shit! You said you put the video in the private chat. I'll send this video. Well, I left, so I don't have it. So you'll have to send, if you don't mind, send that to me personally because I'm interested too, or I can get Austin to send it to me. But yeah, either way, Parkland, not Sandy Hook. That's wild shit. All right, I do have more stuff I could go through, but I want to save some more for later in the week. Don't want to burn out. So whatever. Short little episode, kind of getting back getting back into the swing of things. I think it's good. It's a good time. It's fun hanging out with you guys. So we'll, I think we'll go ahead and get out of here, guys. So, but before, I do want to remind you guys, if you do want to support what I'm doing over here, man, my hair's being really fucking weird. What is going on with that? But if you want to support what I'm doing over here, like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review, iTunes, Spotify, on there. That helps out big time. I mentioned Nadeau. Obviously, he supports me. So if you support him, you're supporting me. So in a roundabout way, obviously, especially if you send him, if you let him know I sent you. Also, I do want to let you guys know if you guys want to support, monetarily, you can do that over at patreon.com. So there's no way Jose 2020, and that's the best way to do it, really. I mean, I get it if you guys can't afford $2 if you're in a spot where shit's tight. I 100% get it, and if that's the case, please don't give me money. But if you're in a spot where you can afford a couple bucks and you think you get value out of the show, then perhaps consider it. And that's patreon.com/NoWayJose2020, and the low level is $2. That gives you early access to the episodes, which I'm getting usually around like four or a time behind the paywall, and like literally these things stay paywalled for weeks. So you're getting quite the value, getting this stuff quite a bit ahead of time. Also, you get the ad-free RSS feed, and also you get the chat preference when it comes to the already dead episodes. Also, on the high level, those are my sponsors. I'll read them off every episode as a big shout out to them and a big thank you for supporting me. I'm my co-host in Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad, also at Abrogate D's, at ZOVRECK, at _Infazil, Tim Tuttle. You can follow him at Jolly on Klebold, then Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, then big fan of the show, Torme, and then at INWARD Lover. And then, I completely forgot to mention this. You guys should totally go check out. I've been bad about plugging this. Go check out toplobster.com. Go get some Jose merch or some already dead merch, whatever. So we got all the stuff. We got already dead. You got already dead retro, Operation Gladio, No Way Jose, Yiki shirt, Turnado shirt. So hey, go grab you something. It's good shit. I got one. I finally got the Gladio shirt that I've been wanting to get for a while. It's funny. Me and Austin didn't talk about this last night, but you may have noticed me and Austin he had a Bro Grove shirt on, and I had a Dangerous Retard shirt on because Top sent us with like a large assortment of them, and we had set aside. We had intended on wearing the Gladio shirt and the Iki shirt because that's just like they tied more into our topics. So we literally last thing before we left, we're like, oh, they were kind of like because they were new shirts, so they hadn't been worn, so they're kind of creased up, kind of. So we're like, oh, we should throw them in the dryer for a little while. We throw them in the dryer. We completely forget. We get like 2 hours on the road and realize, oh shit! And so we just had to make do with what we had. And so we took what was it? I believe an already dead. Did he have an already dead shirt? No, it said Bro Grove. So we've got a Bro Grove, and then we got the fucking then we get the Dangerous Retard shirt that we had to wear instead because we accidentally left those in the dryer. So but yeah, definitely go get those. I got the Dangerous Retard shirt that I wore to Jake's on me right now. Good shirt. But hey, it worked out. I gave me an excuse to give some hard fucking shout outs to Bro Grove and Dangerous Retards. I gave them a shout out. So cool stuff. But all right, guys, I'm kind of rambling now. Going to get out of here. Let's see if you guys have any last things to say. Someone needs to get one of those No Way Jose black and yellow shirts. Yeah, brother. Toplobster.com. Jose07. Salute. See ya, brother. Someone says you can map Lucifer and his servant Satan through everything. It's almost too obvious. I'm obsessed with the seed wars in the Bible right now. Interesting. So I'll DM you on Twitter. Hell yeah, brother. All right. Yo, hey, shit, Bobo. I beat you to it. Was that you? You said don't forget the merch. I'd already done it, I think. So okie dokie, cool. All right. That's all of them. Scrolling through. What's everyone's thoughts on the Marev Seren appointment? Hegseth replacement from the IDF. I didn't know anything about that, but I did. Maybe I ought to find something to talk about because I did it. The whole Caldwell and the other members of the Pentagon that were been kicked out. This is something that kind of slipped under my I remember actually mentioned, I think it was on the last morning dump, I mentioned that like, oh, there was one story I wish we had mentioned because then it tied into the following day. I believe it was maybe the Iran leaks that it tied into. It was right around the Iran leaks. I was like, there was something that tied into it, and so I just didn't have the foresight to know the Caldwell story, or all the Pentagon people who moved around would turn out to be actually such a big deal. So anyways, point being is I think maybe I ought to probably cover that whole debacle with the Hegseth, Iran, how that all ties in, because there's some weird stuff going on over there right now, and I didn't realize now they already have another appointment, Marev Siren. I mean, that sounds fucking like a 6-point star stuff to me right there. So yeah, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he did get some sort of super duper Jewy replacement, because that's 100% how that would work. But all right, guys, let's go and get out of here. Bye, tagging NPC. See everyone. See Upper Crow. Deuces, everyone. Bye.